decided to pursue a course of thinking through this, and try to give you at least a sort of a path for approaching some of the questions that I've been trying to raise anyway. And that path is again a course of thinking through a series of texts by Heidegger. And I hope, in a way, it's like a little bit like path marks, or it's about marking points on a way of thinking that one can then return to, or develop, or leave, or diverge from as one chooses. But that's sort of my aim, is to follow through a line of thinking, and through the text. And it is a little bit of an experiment. Can one work with text online? It's an issue that we faced a little bit last session. That we found that people were working less with texts than normally, and for better or for worse. But I personally think that it's extremely important to engage with the primary texts and to work through the grain of the thinking, because a sort of rehearsal of the predominant motifs is certainly very valuable and important. But most of the thinkers that we deal with are ones who think in writing, or think sometimes in teaching, right? And one has to look at the turns and the nuances and the hesitations and the thought as it unfolds. And as I've been trying to say, for me, particularly important, the thought as it unfolds in language. So one wants to tend to the language, and in the case of works we're reading, the text. And of course, there's a whole thing to be said about text as opposed to spoken language, what happens in textual configurations. So anyway, I'm trying to follow a line of thinking through the text, and I have once again sinned in inviting you to do too much, but again, it's a matter of marking a course of reflection that I hope you'll be able to use to yourselves. So I wanted to say just a couple words regarding the question concerning the question of being, on the question of being, the text Heidegger on Jung. And from there, I will go on to, I'll say a little bit about what is called thinking with regard to the will to power, and take up the Anaximander sentence, the Protagoras sentence about man being the measure of things. And then I will go to the Anaximander fragment, and finally return to what is called thinking. I imagine I can do that. We have so little time. But anyway, to get back to on the question of being, I just wanted to pick up something that I noted yesterday with respect to something that I had not, I suppose, fully come to grips with in my previous readings of this text. And that is the extent to which Heidegger is linking what he is reading in Jung to his own thinking about the notion of technique, of technology. And I realize that I have been referring quite frequently to the idea of technique and technology, but we haven't really, we don't really have time to develop it. But I think it's very important to have a sense of what is at stake in this, in the form of representation that's at work in technology. And we think about the overcoming of metaphysics as an overcoming, in the modern period, as an overcoming of the Cartesian construction of representation and objectivity. Heidegger certainly follows that line of thinking, as you see in the Nietzsche volumes. He situates Nietzsche with respect to Descartes and also to Protagoras. But he is he understands Nietzsche as again accomplishing, fulfilling the modern metaphysics of subjectivity. So whereas in Descartes, the possibility of representation is grounded in the subjective certainty of the capacity to represent. certitude is the ground or foundation for the representation of beings in their truth. In Nietzsche, Heidegger will tell us it's real to care.